York City.
The online dating scene was still pretty new and fairly unregulated.
I've been single for like 5 years. I lived on Long Island forever. All of a sudden I'm in Brooklyn, I move, and everyone's like, oh, what are you doing? Do you want to hang out? I thought you'd want to hang out. You know, it's like, no, I can't hang out. I'm in Brooklyn. You know, I moved here to find a husband. Let me stop.
Numerous calls come into 911 stating that someone's been struck by a vehicle on the Bell Parkway. Those last seconds of his life were seconds that he didn't deserve.
I was just shocked. Just kind of go through this point of disbelief.
It was Michael Sandy. It could have been anyone. They weren't looking for a black man. They weren't looking for a white man. They were looking for a victim.
You can feel how he must have felt when he saw these guys coming down and then running for his life.
Imagine the sheer terror that he was probably feeling.
This guy was lured to his death.
We had a rogue device on this wireless network. So the idea was, all right, well, where are they?
Kind of just feel your whole body collapse in that moment. Literally takes your breath away.
July 2006. Brooklyn, New York. 28-year-old Michael Sandy is on top of the world. He's just landed a job as a designer for IKEA and is finally pursuing his dreams in the big city.
This is my new apartment.
This is Mike's first apartment in New York City.
And his best friend Patrick is by his side.
Michael was really excited about his first Brooklyn apartment. I mean, he was all joy. He had a laugh that could, like, carry a room.
I think it's cool.
Well, it's a wrap. We finished the bed. Made much more space out of this tiny little room. It's wonderful. I'm glad my hair has changed.
It's rocking.
Oh my gosh. I mean, what did we look like there, right? We were just absolute best friends. Comfortable, really comfortable with each other. He was that friend that would, like, do anything for you. Loyal, sensitive, compassionate. And those people don't come around very often.
Life hasn't always been easy for Michael, growing up as a young gay black man in conservative Bellport, New York.
His struggle with being gay in Long Island was definitely a thing. Some parts of it was because he wasn't necessarily, like, out to his parents. But I think that they all had this beautiful kind of unspoken understanding.
I've known Michael Sandy since we were kids. And Michael spoke very closely with his friends about who he wanted to make connections with. And being in a small town, a conservative town, and a conservative family, these things were kind of hard to explore. He wanted to work in Brooklyn, live in Brooklyn, breathe Brooklyn. So I think what was very attractive to him was really that social element and to really find a connection, to find love. I feel like he had to make that move to survive and to express who he was and to be who he was meant to be.
Michael is now living his dream in hip Williamsburg, Brooklyn, an artsy neighborhood just a quick subway ride from Manhattan.
Michael is very agile, and he made everything he did look very easy. Okay. Yeah, that was great. But he was a very natural dancer. So that was Michael dancing in a parking garage. Actually, I was filming this. We were 1 and 2 and 3 and punch and, turn and spin. So we had it all choreographed. It's tough to kind of think about the last time you see someone. It was a good last in-person memory.
As much as he was so gregarious and outgoing, personally, he was very shy. He had never dated anyone. In 11 years of me knowing him, never had a boyfriend.
He was on the hunt to find love.
In the early fall of 2006, just a few months after moving to Brooklyn, Michael goes out with Patrick and a small group of friends. Another friend captures a lighthearted moment on video.
I've been single for like 5 years. I lived on Long Island forever. No one ever wanted to take me to dinner. No one wanted to ever go out. All of a sudden, I'm in Brooklyn. I moved, and everyone's like, "Oh, what are you doing? Do you want to hang out? I thought you want to hang out." You know, it's like, no, I can't hang out. I'm in Brooklyn. What happened 5 years ago? Right? It's insane. You know, I moved here to find a husband. Let me stop.
The last time I hung out with Michael was very close to the time that he had died.
So.
On the evening of October 8th, 2006, numerous calls come into 911 stating that someone's been struck by a vehicle on the Bell Parkway.
It's 10 p.m., and the scene is a dark section of the highway near Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn, in an area known as Plum Beach.
That car never stopped. It was a hit and run. Very serious car accident. From injuries, he's unconscious.
The victim, a young black male gravely injured but still clinging to life, is rushed to Brookdale Hospital.
We have a victim. We don't know who he is. We don't know necessarily how he got there. Now we have to figure out why this occurred.
Investigators question witnesses at the scene.
This incident occurs at night when it's dark and everyone's vision is limited. No one really has a good description of the vehicle and or the license plate.
Police search the area and soon make a crucial discovery.
They come across a vehicle that's parked in a parking lot across the highway. The car was still running.
Police recover a photo ID from the vehicle. It's an unmistakable match with the man gravely injured on the parkway.
And through the documentation that they find, they come to find out that this vehicle is owned by a young man by the name of Michael Sandy. So we have a victim. We know his address. And we wanted to know why he would have driven from Williamsburg to the other side of Brooklyn at night in the dark.
Plum Beach is just a dead stretch of sand, kind of a weeded beach where nobody really takes the sun. And it's just a quiet little stretch of beach.
So something's not adding up here. What's going on?
Later that night, some eyewitnesses reveal a disturbing detail.
So some of the accounts that the officers are getting are stating that this young black male is being chased by a number of white males from the parking lot along the Bell Parkway and then being struck by a vehicle as he's being chased. So based on witness accounts, these young men now start to pull him off the highway.
His body got dragged back to the side of the road. They rifled through his pockets before running off. The witnesses saw that.
Given the races that people are specifically noting, we're wondering, is this something racially motivated? You know, this may have been a targeted attack.
A new detail about Michael's final moments comes to light.
The computer logged into America Online, and a conversation was visible on the screen.
The more police learn, the more personal and tragic the case becomes.
It all is a thing to me that stems from his willingness and wanting connection.
He left pointers, he left the breadcrumbs. And like that, I'll see you in 20 minutes was his final moments as he walked out the door.
Eyewitnesses tell police they saw Michael Sandy being chased by several unidentified white men alongside a New York City highway before he was struck by a hit-and-run driver. Hours later, in the early morning, Michael lies in a coma at Brookdale Hospital in Brooklyn.
He's unconscious, so he can't speak to us to tell us how this all went down.
Meanwhile, word of the shocking incident is slowly spreading among Michael's loved ones.
I got a phone call, and I don't believe anyone knew the full details. I didn't really receive any information other than the fact that he was in the hospital on life support.
One of my good friends called and he said Michael was in a pretty severe accident. Like, I just felt my whole body fall to the ground hearing that. Then you started seeing it on the news.
I was working as a reporter for the New York Post when this happened. We were told that he was still alive, he was in critical condition, and he was unable to communicate to police exactly what happened.
We're talking to the family, kind of getting a clearer picture as to who Michael is. Yeah, they find out that Michael is 28, soon to be 29-year-old male, and he was an interior designer, and was just a super nice guy. Probably had zero enemies. And we wanted to try to figure out why he may have suddenly find himself in a conflict with other people.
When I was at the hospital, his parents were just desperately trying to find any resource and help that they could.
It wasn't until I spoke with Mr. and Mrs. Sandy to really know the severity of the impact. They were holding up. They had wonderful support with their family, but it was hard to see them hurting the way that they were.
We were able to see him, and he looked rough. I mean, his head was completely swollen. And, you know, being on life support, there was very little kind of hope in the outcome. And I was just shocked. Yeah, you just kind of go through this point of disbelief.
All the machines beeping and blaring and all the hustle and bustle in the hospital to begin with, it was hard to fully absorb what was happening. But it was tough to see him in that position. Feels like a dream happening. Very bad dream.
Detectives have little to explain the attack on Michael, other than the vague possibility it was racially motivated. So they head to Michael's apartment in Williamsburg, hoping his roommates can shed some light on his plans that evening.
So the investigators are now looking to interview his roommates. Want to find out if he has any problems. Did he have a beef with somebody? Was he looking to settle a score? You know, we need to figure out why he may have gone from Williamsburg to Sheepshead Bay. And to see maybe is there any conflict that was occurring that evening.
His roommates don't recall anything out of the ordinary that evening, but they mention that they saw Michael chatting on the internet earlier in the night. They chalk it up to some innocent online dating.
We are hearing from Michael Sandy's roommates that he is single. And like many people were doing when this whole online dating thing was starting to really take hold, he was going out and talking to people online and going out to meet them.
The internet really emerged when we were young adults. And this is one way where we could connect to people of our age and have that social interaction, even if it was a digital form of connection.
So back in 2006, the online dating scene was still pretty new and fairly unregulated. So you were talking to people online and not really knowing who was on the other end.
Now investigators begin to question if race had anything to do with the crime, or whether Michael's innocent search for love online may have led him down a dangerous path.
Every new thing has its benefits and its drawbacks. And we had seen, certainly by 2006, that the online environment was one that was being used pretty heavily by gay men in particular. And one of the drawbacks of the internet and online dating is that people will use them as avenues to target others.
So now we potentially want to look at Michael Sandy's computer to see if that is going to give us any investigative evidence to corroborate that.
Investigators find Michael's laptop in his bedroom.
Now we start to shift their attention to, did Michael Sandy maybe talk to somebody online and went to go meet them, and maybe that scenario went wrong.
To explore the possibility that a crime may have originated on the internet, investigators reach out to computer specialist Denise Dragos.
The New York City Police Department had one of the very first computer crime units in the country. It was called CITU back in those days, Computer Investigation and Technology Unit. Eventually, it became the Computer Crime Squad. The detective squad, they needed assistance to actually handle the laptop as evidence and preserve what was visible on the screen and whatever else may be on that computer. So I got my kit together, which we would bring out to digital crime scenes. Hard drives, USB drives, other tools potentially that may come in handy, and we responded. The computer was logged into America Online, and a conversation was visible on the screen.
New York City police believe a computer chat may have lured Michael Sandy into an attack. As Michael lays gravely injured in the hospital, NYPD computer specialist Denise Dragos discovers that Michael's computer is still logged into a chat room on America Online.
The chat conversation happened the evening of the 8th. Before the incident, basically it's two users, Fisheye Fox, and a second account which went by the screen name Drum and Bass 007, which is Michael's account. They're having a conversation. They're talking about potentially smoking marijuana together. And, they say how old each of them are, what they look like.
So in the initial conversation that Michael Sandy's having with this Fisheye Fox, they agree to meet up. They talk about meeting up in Plum Beach, Brooklyn, which is where he is struck by a vehicle.
They make plans to meet there at 8 o'clock, but it's clear that things didn't go as planned.
So searching through Michael's AOL chat history, when they meet up, Fisheye Fox is not alone. There are other people around, which makes Michael Sandy feel uneasy. So he gets spooked and he leaves.
By 8:45, Michael returns to the chat from his apartment in Williamsburg.
He goes back to his computer, and Fisheye Fox is saying, hey, what happened to you, and why'd you leave? And Michael Sandy says, well, I thought we were meeting one-on-one, and there were other people around, so it just felt weird, so I left. And now Fisheye Fox is trying to convince him, oh, yeah, I don't know who those guys were, or, we can just meet one-on-one, it'll just be the two of us. So come on back out, and we'll meet up again.
By 10 o'clock, Michael is found by the side of the parkway just yards from the Plum Beach parking lot.
It all is a thing to me that stems from his willingness and wanting connection. Like, so much went out of his brain for that possibility. And the real hard part is that he just didn't listen to his instinct that day. And he went back.
Looking back, I got the impression that he might have had an idea of what he was doing was potentially risky. I don't think it was an accident that he left his computer on with the chat window open. He left pointers, he left the breadcrumbs. And like that, I'll see you in 20 minutes was his final moments. as he walked out the door.
Police now believe this online chat between Michael and Fisheye Fox is a key piece of evidence, and they're hoping it may lead them to a suspect.
We started doing live system analysis at the time, just to preserve the information that was there. So even without touching it, did little old school pictures, traditional pictures of it, just to make sure that even if it crashed, at least we had that. We were running special software on the machines, which copied out all of the system memory to an external drive. So that in that case, we were able to get a lot of information and preserve it forensically in real time.
For investigators, it's now imperative that they track down the man Michael was chatting with, who goes by the screen name Fisheye Fox. But due to privacy laws, that will require a court order.
You have to remember, back in 2006, the internet was a very different place. Some of these social media companies were not necessarily forthcoming with information about their clients.
We started doing the process to subpoena America Online to see who owns this Fisheye Fox account, if we could identify that person.
On October 9th, a day after Michael Sandy was struck on the Belt Parkway, the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office issues a subpoena to America Online to disclose the name of the individual who goes by the chat handle Fisheye Fox.
So in the investigation, we come to find out that Fisheye Fox is a screen name that is owned by someone by the name of John Fox, who has an IP address that comes back to Brooklyn. And thus, the investigators now go to that address in Brooklyn where the ping of this IP address is coming back to.
The address on Brigham Street is just a few blocks from Plum Beach in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn, where Michael was struck.
It was a row houses on this block on Brigham Street. We pretty much set up a surveillance operation with numerous detectives in different cars. And as all the teams are sitting there, somebody shows up at that house and walks up to the front gate. All of the police cars, come screeching up, and the detectives jump out and approach the individual. We identified ourselves as being detectives, NYPD. And he says, "What's going on, guys?"
NYPD detectives have tracked the source of a computer chat room message they believe was used to lure Michael Sandy to a vicious attack. Based on the IP address linked to the message, they descend on a house in Brooklyn.
The gentleman lived at that address. He said, "I just got off work. Can I help you guys?" So we asked him his name.
The chat room message was from a user called Fisheye Fox, who police have identified as John Fox. But that is not the man's name. And there's no one named John Fox who lives at his address.
So that was a little bit of a pucker moment. Like, oh crap. We asked, "Do you have internet service?" He goes, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just got a new router." So we're like, "All right, can we come inside and talk to you about a situation?" He says, "Yeah, come on inside." As soon as we walk into the kitchen, right there on the kitchen table, we can see a brand new wireless router.
So new that no security has been set up on it yet. Detective Dragos realizes that means anyone could have tapped into this internet service. And a quick check reveals her theory to be correct.
It appeared that now we had a rogue device on this wireless network. The homeowner just had a new router and it wasn't secured and was logged into surreptitiously by this Fisheye Fox user.
Detective Dragos knows that if the rogue device is logged into this router, it must be close by, within range of the Wi-Fi signal.
All right, well, where are they? They have to be within a stone's throw. So let's try and figure out where they are right now. So I'm like, I can try to talk to them and stir the pot and see what happens. So I have an undercover account and I'm like, hey, what's up? It was just a shot in the dark to see, if I could figure out where the heck this computer was. I get a response from Fisheye Fox. So now I'm talking to Fisheye Fox myself. And so I'm like, hey, what's going on? How you been? When are we getting together? And he's, I'm back at school. So we're confounded right now.
Detective Dragos reaches out to her contact at America Online, who is able to determine that John Fox, aka Fisheye Fox, is now chatting from a different location entirely.
And we're like, well, what's this other location? And they said it goes back to SUNY Maritime, which is State University of New York Maritime College, which was a college, in the Bronx.
A check with the campus security office reveals there is a sophomore enrolled at SUNY Maritime, named John Fox.
It was after midnight, I'm sure, at that point. And basically, we all responded in a caravan from that location. Everybody drove out to the Bronx to go and talk to John Fox.
The investigators coordinate with SUNY campus police to locate John Fox's dorm room.
It's 1 a.m. in the morning, and now you're going to talk to someone whose part in this whole thing is still unclear. We do know that John Fox is connected to the screen name that Michael Sandy was talking to. So everyone's antennas are up.
When the 19-year-old student comes to the door, he appears surprised, but his demeanor is calm.
So the investigators are now talking to John Fox at his dorm, and they're asking him, what was your weekend like? And he proceeds to tell them, well, I was just hanging out with some friends, and we were just drinking some beers, just chilling out for the weekend, just a few friends having a good time. During this interview, John Fox starts to get nervous, and his answers start to contradict themselves. This is going from an interview turning into an interrogation.
John Fox agrees to accompany the detectives to the 61st Precinct in Brooklyn.
John Fox is saying in his statement that he and Anthony Fortunato and Gary Timmons and the Russian kid, Alex, are hanging out by a local deli. They decide to go back to the house where John Fox logs into the computer. And he admits that Fisheye Fox is his screen name, but that his friends must have been using his screen name to have a conversation, because he knew nothing about this conversation. But then he starts to turn around and say, well, we were just looking to have a little fun. What does that mean? What does it mean that we're looking to have a little fun? And he starts to basically incriminate himself. And he claims Anthony Fortunato is the one who sort of hatched this scheme to go into a gay chat room, talk with someone who's looking to meet up with another man, and then meet up with that person to rob them under the assumption that the gay man won't go to the police.
The reality that some folks actually feel a certain amount of shame, and so they would be less likely to report. They would be less likely to make a complaint.
It was a very powerful set of facts. There was something particularly chilling about how this man was lured out to his death, basically.
Could have been anyone. They weren't looking for a black man. They weren't looking for a white man. They were looking for a victim. And unfortunately, they chose Michael Sandy.
John Fox admits to NYPD detectives that he, Anthony Fortunato, and a group of their friends used the screen name Fisheye Fox in a chat room to set up a meeting with Michael Sandy under the guise of a date with the intention of robbing him.
So they met on the street. John Fox and him had a brief conversation, and Fortunato and then a couple of their other friends actually were in the area. So Michael got spooked. You know, his spidey sense was tingling. He left. All was good.
Detectives believe that while Michael returned home, John Fox and his friends didn't want to give up.
They start drinking beers again, and they say, oh, maybe we can find somebody else. You know, in the interim, Michael reaches back out. I said, hey, I just want to hang out with you. I don't want to do a group thing, so let's just me and you hang out. So John was like, all right, cool. We'll do that. So he came back.
They all get to Plum Beach, and they approach a blue Mazda, which is Michael Sandy's car. Alex starts to assault Michael Sandy. Michael Sandy breaks away from the assault, and they start to chase him.
Where was he going to go? If they were going to prevent him from getting into his car, he was going onto the highway.
Imagine the sheer terror that he was probably feeling when he's chased onto a busy highway running for his life and running into a speeding vehicle. Those last seconds of his life were seconds that he didn't deserve.
That car takes off, never stops. And then the men, they drag him to the side of the road. One of them goes into his pockets, empties everything, and they take off.
John Fox says they all fled the scene, and then they all went back to the house, and they were all shaken up by this whole scenario.
It's almost like classic Stupid Kids, but there was a coldness about it as well.
Police begin to investigate the friends John Fox says took part in the scheme. And when they learn the home address of Anthony Fortunato, the pieces of the puzzle start to come together. Fortunato's house is next door to the Brooklyn home the detectives visited the night before, where a rogue computer was logged into the Wi-Fi.
So they go to Anthony Fortunato's house to talk to him, and he claims, yeah, I'll come talk to you. I'm just going to get a lawyer, and I'll come down to the station to talk to you guys.
But Fortunato never shows up at the precinct as promised.
Then suddenly we get a call from his mother stating that, well, Anthony can't come talk to you because he's in the hospital. He tried to kill himself. However, John Fox has implicated two other people, Gary Timmons and this other kid known as the Russian kid, Alex. So the investigators looking through MySpace with the information given to them by John Fox find out Russian kid's true identity is now revealed by someone by the name of Ilya Shurov. So now investigators can go talk to them.
Fox, Timmons, and Shirov all confess to their roles in the attack, pointing to Fortunato as the mastermind of the plan. Meanwhile, at Brookdale Hospital, Michael Sandy's family is facing a terrible choice.
So Michael Sandy's in the hospital unconscious. He's dying. He's not going to recover. The doctors know this. Doctors make the family aware of this. And he will never be the person that he was.
On October 12th, Michael Sandy spends his 29th birthday with his family holding vigil in his ICU room. They know they are spending their final moments with him.
They wanted to wait so that he didn't die on his birthday.
So a day after his 29th birthday, his family made that awful, awful decision.
I received a call from Mrs. Sandy and said, we took Michael off life support. So, just always thinking that this can't be true, but these emotions just kind of come over you. I'm still trying to process it. But, you kind of go through those moments when you can and be supportive for the family. But you kind of just feel your whole body collapse in that moment. It literally takes your breath away, in that moment.
You need to let him go. You feel robbed. You really, especially when it comes with an act that has such malice for anything of joy and life and love.
Investigators now have statements from 3 of their suspects, but they still can't speak with Anthony Fortunato, the alleged mastermind of the scheme, who remains hospitalized after his suicide attempt. While they wait for his condition to improve, they execute a search warrant at his home.
We go back out to the location, and when law enforcement gets there, they said, all right, you're looking for computers, here's our computer. This is the only computer we have. But we're able to actually look at the computer and immediately say, no, that's not the computer we're looking for, because, it is mapped to the manufacturer. And in this case, we knew we were looking for a Dell computer. The computer that they happened to pull out of a hat and say was the only computer in the house was not a Dell. So we were like, no, try again. And they didn't have any other computers that they were willing to voluntarily turn over. So a search of the residence commenced as authorized by the search warrant. Hidden in the basement was a Dell laptop. That was the computer that was connected to the IP address that was connected to Fisheye Fox during the crime. So we found what we were looking for. It basically was the smoking gun.
By the time Fortunato is released from the hospital, Kings County prosecutors are prepared to act. They now have everything they need to file charges of attempted robbery and manslaughter, but they're also considering a unique enhancement to the charges that's rarely been tried before.
This was a real social problem, that people were being targeted as victims of crime because they belonged to certain groups. And in this case, they were looking to select a gay person, and that's what they did. That is the element that establishes the hate crime.
Four men are facing charges in the attack that killed Michael Sandy. And prosecutors are prepared to also try them on a rare and untested set of charges.
This was one of the first cases I can recall clearly where the hate crimes enhancement was actually used in New York State for an anti-gay murder. And I think it was important for the community for this to be called what it was. It had a lot of meaning for people.
On October 25th, 2006, John Fox, Ilya Shurov, and Anthony Fortunato are indicted on charges of second-degree murder, attempted robbery, and manslaughter as a hate crime. That same day, Gary Timmons, who was a minor at the time of the crime, pleads guilty to attempted robbery in the second degree.
You want to make sure that when a case is tried as a hate crime, it has to specifically plug into the statutes of the hate crimes law. And the sentence that is usually handed down is a much heavier sentence.
But as the date of trial approaches in October 2007, nearly a year to the day from the attack on Michael at Plum Beach, Anthony Fortunato's attorney mounts a stunning defense to the hate crime charges.
Fortunato tried to pull a rabbit out of the hat and said it can't be a hate crime because he came out of the closet himself. He identified himself as being a gay man and said that because he's gay, it can't be a hate crime because you can't hate gay people if you're gay also.
It was an extremely flimsy defense legally because hate is not an aspect of the crime itself. That's not something that the prosecution has to establish in order to establish somebody's guilt of a hate crime. He could have mixed motives, but it doesn't get him off the hook. From the get-go, the whole plan was based on targeting a gay person.
John Fox and Anthony Fortunato are acquitted of murder, but convicted of manslaughter and attempted robbery as hate crimes, receiving sentences of 7 to 21 years. A month later, Ilya Shurov pleads guilty to the same charges and receives a sentence of 17.5 years. Gary Timmons, who testifies as a prosecution witness, receives a 4-year sentence.
When they were found guilty, it was a natural release to have some vindication, but I don't know about the justice part.
I absolutely cannot say as to whether or not justice was served in this case. Maybe it's for Michael's parents to answer that question, for Michael's soul or spirit to answer that question, even in an odd way for his perpetrators to answer that question. Because I would have a hard time feeling that justice were served if they did not come to understand the gravity and tragedy of what they did.
This case sort of impacted me on a personal level. It was back in 2006. I was a single gay man on the internet, talking to people and meeting up with people. For all practical purposes, I could have been Michael Sandy.
Michael Sandy's closest friends are left with nothing now, except their memories, and a few artifacts of his last days, like this video from the fall of 2006, when he enjoyed a final evening out in Brooklyn with his friends.
Can I put my glasses on?
I've been single for like 5 years. I lived on Long Island forever. No one ever wanted to take me to dinner. No one would ever go out. You know, I moved here to find a husband.
That is too much. You heard his laugh.
You know, I moved here to find a husband.
He was a wonderful human being from head to toe.
Wonderful. Okay, it's rocking.
He exudes this wonderful light that shines and magical laughter and smiles. And we love life to the fullest.
She missed the bus just by seconds. All of a sudden, she disappears.
She harbored this hope to continue her doctoral studies in the US, but then going back to China to be a leader in her discipline of environmental engineering.
Maybe this is a situation where she was kidnapped, or she's just confused, something happened to her medically.
There was almost an exact 1-minute conversation between the driver of this vehicle and Ying Ying.
I'd like you to be more forthcoming with me because I need to find where she lives. It's just a whole bit. How those people want her home safe. You know what happened. So we
June 2017. 26-year-old Yingying Zhang is boldly following her dreams. She's a visiting scholar from China at the University of Illinois, conducting research on crop production.
Yingying got here in April of 2017. I've got a picture of Mom, Dad, and Yingying at the train station when she got on the train at home to leave to come to Illinois. She was really, really interested in crop production and improving methods of crop production back in China. She's in her early 20s. She's at school. She's learning. She's happy.
Before coming to America, Yingying grew up over 7,000 miles away in southeastern China. She's the oldest child in a close-knit family of 4.
Going to college, moving from 3 hours away from home was a lot. I can't imagine what it's like to move from a different country, trying to navigate life that way. I know that she did miss her family. She would call them often, and I know that they missed her a lot too.
She loved to sing, and she was part of a band called Cute Horse. She is someone who is genuinely very, very kind. She has a certain innocence to her. She was very close to her parents, especially to her mother.
Rangao is the father. He is a truck driver back in China. Li Fang is the mom, and she was in poor health and very fragile. Life was a struggle for them. Yingying was a dutiful daughter who performed many of the functions within the household.
Coming from families with limited means, academic excellence was seen as the only way out. She did her master's degree at Peking University's graduate school, where she studied environmental engineering. Afterwards, she received a researcher position at the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Her monthly salary was 4,000 yuan, which would probably be about $700, and she would use that to supplement her family's income.
Now in 2017, Yingying accepts a 1-year research position as a visiting scholar at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign.
Champaign-Urbana is a modest-sized community, small town in a lot of ways. The students travel all around town, ride bicycles. It's very pastoral. And there are a significant number of students, undergrad and graduate, from China.
Being able to go to another country, especially the United States, to pursue further studies, especially trained as a scientist, is an affirmation of personal excellence.
On June 9th, 2017, 2 months after she arrives in the United States, Yingying schedules a 2 p.m. appointment to tour a new apartment.
Yingying was excited to be moving, and she was meeting one of the leasing agents to tour it and potentially sign.
She has the opportunity to move to a new apartment in North Urbana, which is north of campus. And so she has to take the bus to get down to Central Campus, and she has to get off that bus and catch another bus that's going to take her north on Lincoln, out of campus, where it's student housing. There's a significant number of students.
5 hours later, at 7 p.m. that night, Yingying is supposed to meet a group of her lab mates for their regularly scheduled meeting. She never arrives. They call and text, but no one can reach her.
Yingying was always on time, so her lab mates thought that it was really weird that she didn't show up, because Yingying would never not show up to anything without notice.
I was the head of the department Yingying was associated with. I was at the movies with both my sons, and I got out and I got a text from the leader of the lab group saying I have a student that's missing, and then I gave that person a call, and I just said, "Have you called the police?"
At 9:24 p.m., Ying Ying's lab mates report her missing to the University Police Department.
This was unusual. I've never had anything like that happen with a student gone missing. We were concerned about her. We wanted to know what was going on.
University police officers check her apartment. She's not there. But they find cash, important documents, and belongings, which tells them she didn't go far. While searching her apartment, officers locate her diary. They skim through its pages for clues to her whereabouts.
One of the last things that she had written in it was, "Life is too short to be ordinary." I think about that almost like weekly, if not daily. It just really shows how she wanted to continue living her life. I think it's just a really heavy thing to hear, especially it being the last entry there.
That evening, University of Illinois police make a difficult phone call to Ying Ying's family in China.
The thought of Ying Ying leaving China and coming to the United States had to be scary to the family. Then to have this happen, they were devastated.
I think the best word I could use to describe what they were feeling was horrified.
On June 10th, the day after Ying Ying was last seen, University police begin working the case as a missing persons investigation.
The University Police Department went to all the hangout places where students congregated. They searched tirelessly over that weekend for Ying Ying.
I worked at the school newspaper, the Daily Illini. I think this was such a big case, and I was just interested in it in that way as a student journalist, both of us being new to the university. It just struck me on a personal level.
The city of Champaign, it's a smaller city. There was such a tremendous outpouring of support of Ying Ying's family to find Ying Ying.
Missing posters for Ying Ying were posted on every corner. People who were on campus were basically surrounded by these posters, and her picture was everywhere.
I was on the faculty at the University of Illinois College of Law. I had a graduate course where I would teach international students the American trial system. It was devastating to us. The thought that something like this could happen on our campus with one of our students, this is crazy. This is crazy.
The search for Ying Ying intensifies.
We received a lot of surveillance footage, and we were able to trace Ying Ying's entire route.
The investigation takes a dark turn.
Another university student said she was approached by a strange individual who presented himself as an undercover police officer and wanted her to get into the car.
And a community fears the worst.
Once it's clear that she got in that car, now it's kidnapping.
Monday, June 12th, 2 days after Ying Ying Zhang was last seen at the University of Illinois. Word spreads of her disappearance, shaking the quiet college community.
Police were all around looking for her, and students who were still on campus were extremely scared.
That fear increases as more details of the investigation become known. University police reveal that a check of Ying Ying's cell phone records show the last text she sent was on the afternoon of June 9th to the leasing agent for her new apartment.
At 1:39 p.m., Ying Ying sends a text saying she would be about 30 minutes late, and she ends up never showing up. At 2:38 p.m., he checks in again, seeing where she's at, but there's no answer. There's no more text between them, and the last communication anybody had with Ying Ying was with that leasing agent.
All of a sudden, the communication stops. She's just gone.
3 days into the search, university police reach out to the FBI for help.
They had been working almost nonstop for the last several days and were in some ways exhausted and in other ways just kind of needing some more resources. So when they called, our entire office showed up to help them with what they had on their hands.
The first move for FBI agents is to retrace Ying Ying's steps. They know on the day she went missing, she had an appointment to tour an apartment north of campus. Based on her cell data, they also know she took the bus.
She's going to come to main campus on a bus because she doesn't have a car. She's going to use public transportation.
We received a lot of surveillance footage from the metro system. The buses had a lot of cameras. And from those cameras, we were actually able to trace Ying Ying's entire route.
Federal agents scan through the mountain of digital footage from June 9th, the day Ying Ying went missing. They get their first glimpse of her when they identify Ying Ying boarding a bus at 1:35 p.m.
You see Ying Ying get on the bus from her apartment. She smiles at the bus driver as she shows her bus ticket.
The surveillance video shows Ying Ying exiting the bus 17 minutes later at 1:52 p.m. Then she walks down the street toward another stop to transfer to another bus.
The security camera that caught Ying Ying, you can see Ying Ying trying to catch the next bus. I think she missed it by a few seconds. And then you can kind of see her in the footage, sort of like giving up and letting the bus go and probably trying to figure out what to do next.
Investigators scour these images of Ying Ying for any clues, and they see something that piques their interest. As Ying Ying waits for another bus, a black 4-door vehicle drives up to her and stops.
There was almost an exact 1-minute conversation between the driver of this vehicle and Ying Ying, after which she gets into the passenger seat and that vehicle proceeds to travel off camera.
Once it's clear that she got in that car, now it's a potential kidnapping.
With the case now potentially a kidnapping, concern about Ying Ying's safety grows. Using the extensive surveillance camera system in the university area, FBI analysts determine the vehicle is a black 4-door Saturn Astra sedan.
It had only been manufactured for a very short period of time. It was identifiable.
But they can't read the license plate.
Everyone within the FBI and the University Police Department was trying desperately to identify the license plate on that vehicle or some other mark that can make it highly identifiable so that way we could find it. The vehicle proceeds off of the university grounds, off of their campuses, and goes into a more residential area, and we lose a lot of the surveillance at that point.
Then a report comes in about a concerning incident on campus. On the same day, Ying Ying disappeared.
The University Police Department actually received a call from another university student, Emily Hogan, who said she was approached by a strange individual in a black vehicle on the 9th. We called her that night and she came in and spoke with us and told us all about her experience. She said this individual presented himself as an undercover police officer and wanted her to get into the car. She declined and immediately called the police.
The FBI believes it could be the same car Ying Ying is seen getting into.
I think Ying Ying was understandably really stressed with everything that was going on and was put in that situation on a seemingly safe campus, so it makes sense that she would have trusted him and gotten into the car.
We didn't know whether other people were at risk or not, whether that person could be out there, that it might happen again.
Four days after Yingying Zhang vanishes from the University of Illinois campus, the FBI is searching for the black car she's seen entering on surveillance video. Agents believe the same Saturn Astra approached another young woman earlier on the day Yingying disappeared, and the driver tried to coerce her into the vehicle.
They turned to automobile registration records for Champaign County and the surrounding counties.
Agents discover there are only 9 four-door Saturn Astras registered in Champaign County.
On the 12th, our canvas teams went in and attempted to make contact with every owner of a Saturn Astra.
Investigators track down and clear all 9 potential suspects, one by one.
There's nothing specific at that moment that would have raised any additional suspicion.
Hoping to find something that can help focus their search, something they might have missed earlier, investigators return to the surveillance footage. Finally, something catches their eye.
Somebody noticed that the hubcap was cracked. It had a piece missing. And in zooming in, you could also see the vehicle had a sunroof.
One of the FBI agents who spoke to the Astra owners in Champaign County recalls seeing only one Astra that had a sunroof. He cross-references his list. It belongs to 27-year-old Brent Christensen.
Brent Christensen was a grad student in the physics department, the TA. He was teaching other students and earning his own degree at the same time. Generally pretty quiet and kept to himself.
Agents review the statement Brent Christensen made when they first asked him about the day Yingying went missing.
He said he was home that day, was sleeping, his wife was out of town, he was playing video games, and there was nothing suspicious at that time that would put any more attention on him.
Officers go back out to the apartment where Christensen lives, and the car is parked in the parking lot.
They looked at that hubcap, and it had the exact same rake. The exact damage that was in that surveillance footage.
Investigators believe they've found the car seen with Yingying in the surveillance video. It's a major discovery, but they want to confirm it was Brent Christensen behind the wheel before they confront him. They reach out to Emily Hogan, the woman who reported that a man in a black car approached her the same day Yingying was abducted.
We presented her with a lineup of individuals. She went through those pictures and immediately identified Christensen as the person who was driving that vehicle on that morning. Emily Hogan's experience, her identification of Christensen, showed that he was in some ways hunting to try to find a victim. Based on the information we had, we were very confident that Christensen had in fact kidnapped Yingying.
Armed with Emily's positive ID of Brent Christensen, Agent Manganaro races to his house and brings him in for questioning.
Why do you think that we brought you up here?
Because the car I own was seen picking up a girl that's missing. Yeah.
You originally told the agents that came to your apartment that you just played video games all day long. And you didn't leave the apartment.
Yep.
But it's fair to say that we know that that's not true, correct?
Why would I lie?
I work in the Detectives Bureau with the U of I, and you know what we have access to? Cameras. Do you think that we're not going to track a vehicle all over campus? I know that you picked her up. I know you did. Okay.
Right or wrong, don't say it. I just pick a girl up.
Okay.
I saw her picture. I don't think it was her though.
Do you remember the girl's name that you picked up?
No, she was talking very broken English.
What was her ethnicity? You said she had trouble speaking English. Well, she was Asian. She was Asian.
Okay. I was just driving around. I saw a girl, and she was very distressed.
Okay.
So I stopped the car and looked at her. And asked her if she needed help. Talked to her for a little bit. Which I did very short because I apparently took the wrong turn compared to what she said, and that was enough to spook her. I'm not going to keep someone that barely won my car who just put me in there. So we're up. That was less I saw her.
Well,
My impression of Christensen was that he was capable of manipulation. We knew that something terrible had happened, and there was a lot of pressure. We were operating under the hope that she was still alive, maybe being held against her will by Christensen at an unknown location.
My theory is that she didn't get out of the car. I'm just being open with you. My theory is she was in there a little bit longer. I'd like you to be more forthcoming with me because, again, I need to find where she is. I'd like you to be more forthcoming with me because, again, I need to find where she is.
6 days after the disappearance of Yingying Zhang, Brent Christensen admits to giving her a ride on June 9th, but insists he dropped her off and hasn't seen her since.
I don't know, so. Sorry.
Investigators put their suspect on a 24-hour investigative hold.
I immediately set out to write a search warrant and met the magistrate judge that night while other agents were keeping an eye on the vehicle and got that search warrant signed to go seize it.
FBI agents inspect Brent's Saturn Astra, but they find no physical evidence linking Yingying to the vehicle. The FBI is confident they have the right man, but they can't hold him without evidence.
They decide to release him and keep track of him, put him under surveillance.
We had 24-hour surveillance on him, GPS trackers on the car. We had aerial assets circling above, hoping that he might lead us to where she was at or give us some clue of a location to search.
It was a really scary time. the investigation was ongoing and nobody really knew what had happened to Ying Yang. This was genuinely a really scary experience for the whole college community.
FBI surveillance teams continue tracking Brent Christensen for several days, but without any luck.
At that same time, some of the other agents met with his wife and had a voluntary interview with her at her residence.
Investigators learn their marriage is anything but ordinary.
Christensen and his wife had an open relationship. They each had another girlfriend or boyfriend on the side.
Brent met his girlfriend, Tara Bullis, on a dating site in 2017.
Christensen and Tara were involved in like a domineering, submissive type relationship. From Tara's perspective, it was mutual and she still maintained a great deal of control. When we went and talked to Tara, she was very open about their relationship, was very concerned about the missing student, Ying Yang, and agreed to help us find out what was going on and if Christensen had any involvement. So Tara agreed to wear a wire for us and record the conversations that she had with him. In all of these scenarios, it can be a risk. We don't know if the person we're asking to help us is going to turn around and then tell Christensen everything that we just talked to them about. We don't know. But in this instance, we really needed to find Ying Yang, and so that risk was very worth it.
You have agents watching him, you have agents watching her. And, you know, the risky thing, I think, for the FBI is that if he discovers that wire, he could harm her.
While this was going on, we also had massive efforts underway searching fields, searching dumpsters, searching parks, looking for anything that might give some sort of indication as to where Ying Yang was.
The family has this hope. They want her to be alive. And so if you have that hope, then she's going to be alive. In your own thinking, she's going to be alive. And so the Chinese community, the family, and the local community are going to have a march in support of the search for Ying Yang.
Let's find Ying Yang! Let's find Ying Yang! Let's find Ying Yang! Let's find...
The March for Ying Yang brought a lot of people in the community together and out to kind of commemorate her. And it was really emotional.
Let's find Ying Yang! Let's find Ying Yang!
The March for Ying Yang takes place on the University of Illinois campus on June 29th, 20 days after she was last seen.
Let's find Ying Yang! Let's find Ying Yang!
Brent Christensen decides he's going to participate in that march.
Christensen ordered Tara to attend that event with him. She agreed, and as she had done in her past interactions with him, wore a wire to that event.
It's 6:46 on Thursday, June 29th. We're at the benefit for the walk, so I'm thinking I'm just going to turn this on right now so that it's on while we walk.
At the event, Christensen started making disclosures to her that if the people at the event knew who he was and what he had done, they would flee in terror.
It's so weird. All those people there tonight. I wanted them safe, and I have no idea what happened. You know what happened.
Nobody will know what happened. And nobody will know what happened.
Not even you. Like, I'm the only one.
Let's find Ying Yang! Let's find Ying Ying. Let's find Ying Ying.
June 29th, 2017. 20 days into the search for missing college student Ying-Ying Zhang, students at the University of Illinois hold a march to support her. The marchers include Brent Christensen, the prime suspect in her disappearance. He doesn't know his girlfriend is wearing a wire for the FBI.
So I'm assuming many people were here. So for me.
Our church. You feel you let nobody know? Huh?
I know a lot.
They're walking through Champaign, and he proceeds to tell her how he kidnapped Ying Ying, how he caused her a great deal of physical harm, how he assaulted her, bound her.
She was telling. She looks.
She would.
What?
She fight.
She just revealed with it. Was like, I tried to choke her. She didn't. She stuck on her back. She died. It was. Couldn't believe it. Like, he's back. Unbelievable. Like, supernatural almost how we just did it.
I know Tara was very fearful throughout this entire exchange, and you can actually hear in that captured recording her heartbeat.
Choked her for 10 minutes. That release, bro, her breath. I couldn't believe it. Wow. So I carried her into my bathroom, off the bat, and I hit from the head as hard as I could. And it broke her head open.
It was, in a lot of ways, a powerful moment for all of us. We knew that Christensen had kidnapped Ying Ying. We knew that something terrible had happened. And now we have him describing it.
Well, first, she did or not, so I got a knife. I couldn't laugh, and she grabbed the force.
Christensen was capable of immense violence, and he had a lot of pride in what he had done.
He ran away with it.
We had all been working so tirelessly over the last several weeks, the entire team, to get to this moment. We had enough to make an arrest.
On June 30th, 2017, the FBI arrests and charges Brent Christensen for Ying-Ying Zhang's death.
It was a relief to make an arrest, to put Christensen in jail, but we still didn't have Ying Ying, and that was our goal. We wanted to find where she was.
When the charges are brought against Christensen, there's announced he's arrested. That's a shock. The family is hoping that he has hidden her away somewhere. It was tough. It took them a while to accept the fact that she was really dead.
Christensen's arrest brought a lot of relief to myself and the rest of the college campus. It was also really confusing of just how could somebody that I thought was teaching me something do something so horrible.
Law enforcement has every reason to believe Ying Ying is dead. They need to find her body, but Brent Christensen is keeping his secret.
He declined a second interview, so our work wasn't done. And we continued to search the area and tried to find some sort of evidence as to where she was.
Police execute a search warrant at Brent's apartment. Although there's no sign of Ying Ying, they do find evidence of an assault.
We find bloodstains on the mattress. We found evidence that blood had gotten up against the wall behind the mattress and had seeped down into the carpet. And then we find that the bathroom had been tremendously clean. We discovered Christensen had put in a work order to his apartment complex a couple days after he killed Ying Ying for the grout and the tub in the bathroom to be redone.
Investigators also locate what they believe is the bat Brent used to beat Ying Ying. They send the bat and blood samples to the forensics lab for testing.
The crime scene evidence absolutely confirmed the admissions that he made during the parade was true.
Investigators also dig into Brent Christensen's social media, where they find more disturbing information about their suspect.
He had some posts on different websites that discuss fetishes. There was one in particular that we found very concerning. It described kidnapping someone, putting them in a duffel bag, proceeding to have a sexual encounter. What was particularly disturbing was when you compared it to the Amazon purchase records of Christensen. We found a purchase of a very large green duffel bag that could easily fit a person inside it. And the realization that she was likely put into a bag just like this and carried against her will into the apartment, it hits you. It makes it real.
"21 days after Yingying Zhang goes missing, investigators have built a solid case against Brent Christensen. But they still don't have a body.
The family, there's certainly anger. There's always anger. To think that this man, in any form of brutal way, kidnapped and killed your daughter, it's beyond your ability as a human being to fathom. So the family's position was that he should receive the death penalty.
Although they know that not having a body will make it more difficult to win a conviction, prosecutors move forward with plans for the trial. On June 24, 2019, after a 2-day trial, a federal jury finds Brent Christensen guilty of kidnapping resulting in a death. Next, the jury deliberates on his sentencing.
Of the 12 jurors, 10 voted for the death penalty, 2 didn't. And so because a unanimous verdict was not reached, her killer was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I couldn't even say how I felt. I was happy that there was a verdict and that he would go away for the rest of his life. I thought it was going to feel like the ending of a story, but it didn't really feel like there was that closure that you would get. When the verdict was initially read, emotions were really high. I don't think Ying Ying's family felt as though justice was served, as they were really adamant about wanting the death penalty, but instead Christensen got life in prison.
At the conclusion of the trial, the court gave authorization for me to take Ying Ying's journal from evidence and replace it with a copy, and I was able to give that journal to Ying Ying's mom.
It's all Ying Ying's family has of her, because Brent Christensen refuses to say what he did with her body after killing her.
He personally has never told the FBI, but he's told his attorneys what he did. And they tell us, because the trial's over, so immunity's gone, nothing else can happen. They tell us that he had dismembered the body, put her remains in the dumpster outside of the apartment building, was taken to a landfill. The area in the landfill was probably half a football field, so the likelihood of recovering her body is virtually nil.
I'm not sure if there will ever be closure for the family in that Ying Ying was never found.
Parents' worst nightmare is losing a child. Just think about her and how excited she was when she came here. I got kids, I got kids in graduate school, and I think about that. And, it's just, life's not fair. Bad things happen to good people, and this is a case of that.
Ying Ying's loved ones returned to China without their daughter. To honor her memory, they establish a memorial fund at the university, where the student body is forever touched by Ying Ying's final words.
Her diary entries were her conversations with herself. The last line is, life is too short to be ordinary. This kind of thinking that one makes something out of one's ordinary life in the sense of making a difference, doing something meaningful. That was something that she was probably telling herself when she was still navigating this very new country, this very strange new life to her.
At the end of the day, this is something that should have never happened, and Ying Ying should still be here.